Back to freaking school. But anyway, hey guys, this is Champion Marks here for a battle versus the ThePoofingPiplup, a guy I met on, I believe it was the TPX chat. And yeah, this battle is really long, so I actually am gonna need to put it in two parts, which, yeah, but I thought it was too long, but he insisted that I upload it, so I thought, why not? Anyway, let's get started. So he leads off as Dragonite, as I lead off with Ferrothorn. I was thinking he'd go for the Dragon Dance because that's what all of the Dragonites I see lead off do, but it's banded. Goes for a yes, Fire Punch, and because it killed me, I know he is banded because Ferrothorn with no special defense EVs can live Heat Waves from Zapdos, so if it can't live a Fire Punch from this thing, I know it's banded. I decided to go into my Jellicent because with him locked into Fire Punch, he probably doesn't want to stay in, and I can get a free Will-O-Wisp on whatever he decides to switch in. He decides to switch in his Porygon 2. Not the best thing for me because that means I won't be able to get a Toxic on it later, but thankfully my Will-O-Wisp misses, which is awesome because that means I have a chance to get a different status on it later in the match. He sees that I have Water Absorb, which is not that bad, but, I could have done with him, well, without him knowing that. But anyway, I go for the Toxic on him. No, wait. He goes for the Toxic on me, thinking I would stay in, but I switch out into Heatran, taking the Toxic. Even though I thought he'd go for Thunderbolt or Discharge, it works the same. Here, I know he's probably going to switch out because he has nothing to hit me with. Well, nothing to hit me with hard. So I do decide to set up my Stealth Rocks, because Stealth Rocks is going to be really essential for getting rid of that Dragonite, because it is still at full HP and more than likely has Marble Scale. Yep. Multi-Scale, sorry. Now, here, I played a big head game, because he saw my Jellicent had Water Absorb, so he was predicting I'd switch into it to take the Scald, but yeah, predicting that, he goes for the Energy Ball, but I decide to stay in and get a free Toxic on him. Yay! Now, here, I decide to go for the Protect, just to get some, Toxic Stall damage on him, and I believe he goes for a Toxic of his own, predicting the switch, but because I stayed in and went for Protect, it doesn't do anything at all. And here, I believe I start a pretty big head game with him, so I do believe I'm gonna speed this part up just a bit. But anyway, he starts, he just gets a little bit of toxic damage, not doing too much, but it will rack up sooner or later. He decides to switch into his Porygon 2, as I go for a Lava Plume to try and get some damage, but because his Porygon 2 traced my Flash Fire, it's not going to do any damage. So I go for a Toxic here, thinking he's going to stay in, predicting I have no idea what, but yeah, he goes for Discharge, does jack all to my Heatran. I think I actually got more back from leftovers than I took from Discharge. But anyway, I just decided to go for Protect because I'm thinking he's just, well, he's got nothing to do to me, and just go for the Protect. Why not? Here, I switch out because he thinks I'm going to stay in, and he's going to go for Discharge. So I go out in my ground type to be immune to it, my Landros. But he decides to go for Recover to get his HP back, which, really doesn't matter. Now, there, I probably should have U-turned, but, yeah, it doesn't really matter. I just switched to my Heatran to take the Ice Beam, because most Porygons do carry the Bolt Beam type coverage. Anyway, Toxic is getting quite aggressive, but I decide to go for a Lava Plume, expecting him to switch, because Toxic damage is racking up so much. But he stays in, because of Flash Fire he traced from me. It's not going to do anything. Here he decides to switch out, as I just go for another Lava Plume, again predicting him to switch, because, well, he has to switch sooner or later, or else Toxic is going to kill him, so yeah, go for Lava Plume. Here, I'm still not sure if his Jellicent has a water move, so I do decide to switch out. He goes for Recover, and I switch into Latios. Now, I know for a fact that Specs Thunderbolt is not going to do the hugest amount to Jellicent because it's more than likely special defensive, and I have seen Jellicent take less than half from Specs Thunderbolt. So I do decide to switch back to my Heatran in the event that he tries to go for a Shadow Ball. He goes for a Toxic, which is just as good, because I wouldn't really have taken much damage from the Shadow Ball if he had it either. But anyway, here I believe he decides to switch out back into his Porygon, I think. or something along those lines. Yeah, he does switch out and goes back into his Porygon, as I think I go for another Lava Plume to try and get some damage on this thing, because I haven't seen him use a water move, so I'm sort of under the assumption he doesn't have it at this point. But, yeah. Oh no, I just go for Protect to get some toxic damage. My bad. But anyway, here just begins another stall war between his Porygon 2 and my Heatran. He can't really do anything to me because Discharge is doing jack all. I can't do anything to him because thanks to his Trace and my Flash Fire, my only stab move doesn't do anything to him. So basically, all I have to do is go for Protects and waste power points waiting for this Porygon 2 to die, or switch out. I'm thinking I'd decide to go for, some Stealth Rocks, because I really have no other reason to use Stealth Rock in this match, so it's the best move to waste power points on. He gets a crit Discharge on me, doesn't really matter. Gets a Paralyzed 2, really doesn't matter either, because it doesn't come into any crucial points in this match, but whatever. He decides to switch in his Jellicent again for, I guess, to try and threaten me out, even though it really hasn't been working that great this whole match. I just switch into Landros, thinking Discharge is coming. I go for the U-turn to get the hell out of there and switch back into my Heatran. And I do believe he goes for an Energy Ball here. I'm thinking I have no idea what reason. Maybe he thought I'd switch into my Water type again. Gets a Special Defense drop. Doesn't really matter, because Heatran has enough special defense, so even if he does hit me with super effective or neutral move, it's not going to do the greatest amount. Now here, I was under the assumption that he doesn't have a water move, because he hasn't been going for it at all this match. But here, he goes for a Scald, so I'm like, well, shit, would have been nice to know you had that in the first place, or else I wouldn't have stayed in. I probably would have switched out to my Jellicent on this turn. But that actually, even with the special defense drop, that didn't do the hugest amount of damage, which I was amazed at. I'm just like, wow, Heatran is a freaking beast. And here, his Jellicent is getting really low on health, so I'm thinking he's probably going to go for a Recover, I think was my thought process, something along those lines. Or I just go for another Recover to try and stall Toxic. I don't know. But I believe he actually switches out for some odd reason here into his Porygon again, I think. Which, don't really know why he keeps bringing this thing in on my Heatran, because he knows and I know that my Heatran completely walls his Porygon, and my Heatran can't do anything to his Porygon, so I guess that's really the only reason he keeps bringing it in, but he's at the greater disadvantage, because he's poisoned, but I pull a double switch, I think was my thought process, do the double switch. No, wait, I was thinking both of his stab moves, well, his stab move and Energy Ball on Jellicent don't do anything to dragons, so I thought bringing in Latios would be the best idea to try and get a kill on it after it went for recover. Excuse me. But since he went into Porygon, I switched back out to Heatran, because I know he's probably going to go for an Ice Beam. Heatran's the best thing I have to take it. Instead, he double switches to Jirachi, which I thought was weird to say the least, but yeah. I'm just deciding to stay in because if this is a special variant Jirachi, it really can't do anything to me, and if it's a physical variant Jirachi, it's just going to try and Paraflinch, stall me. Really not going to work because Iron Head is double resisted. But instead, he decides to go for the Stealth Rock, I guess to finally get them out there, even though it is kind of late in the game, but not really, since I actually don't think anything has died yet. But anyway, I go for the Lava Plume, and I'm guessing his Jirachi is more physically defensive, because that actually does a shit ton. Doesn't get a burn, not really that important though, because, yeah, even though I don't get the burn, Jirachi is not going to want to stay in, because it has nothing to hit me with. At least that's what my assumption was. He does go for the Iron Head though, and here I do get a good prediction of how much it's going to do, which is jack shit. It's awesome, because that basically means I can stay in on this Jirachi and attempt to spam off a Lava Plume as much as I freaking want, because Jirachi can't hit me for anything unless it has Calm Mind, and since it's showing me that it's physical, I know it doesn't have it. And I actually gain HP from that Iron Head hit, which is awesome, but anyway, he switches out his Jirachi and goes into his Porygon 2 again. Just doing the same old song and dance here. His Porygon comes in, Trace is my flash fire, and I can't hit it for anything, and he gets off a free recover. But I get a paralyze, so, you know, it doesn't really matter, but whatever. I do believe now I decide to switch out into... I really have no idea what, but I decided to switch out into something. I think it was Landros predicting a discharge, but he does go for the cover. I just decide to go for a U-turn to get switch advantage in case he decides to switch, and just do a good chunk of damage if he decides to stay in, because Landros does incredibly high physical attack, so, well, it doesn't do anything, but still, U-turn was the best option. Go back up to my Heatran, because he does have the Stealth Rocks up, but it really isn't doing much of anything, and it doesn't bother Heatran, considering that the Porygon 2 is out here. And anyway, now, I just decided to stay in here, because, again, Porygon 2 can't touch me, he can't, and I can't touch him, so the stalemate's going to end in me winning sooner or later when Poison kills him, or he switches out. So, yeah, that's pretty much it with this Porygon, but, I do believe after several turns of him just recovering off damage, Poison does start to get to a amount of damage where he just does not feel comfortable staying in, and I believe he decides to sack off his Jellicent to get switch advantage, I think, or something like that. I really don't remember. This battle was only a couple days ago, but I don't have the best of memories. Anyway, his Porygon, I believe, now is receiving so much toxic damage that he does not feel safe staying in. Switches out into Jellicent with the Stealth Rocks, plus Toxic, plus the fact that I used Lava Plume. Jellicent is dead, no question. And I believe here he decides to switch into his Latios, was it? No, he switches into his Dragonite. Now, I know it's banded from previous experience, so I do go for the Protect to scout what it's going to lock itself into. Goes for a Waterfall. Thought it was a mirrored move for it to have, but, you know, my Latios carries Surf, so not really that surprising. And, Latios here, as I switch out to Jellicent, and I think I'm going to stop the video there, because it's about halfway in, and I'll finish the video in the next part, so comment, rate, sub, and see you guys later.